I want to, before we move on to the audience questions, I want to really drive home a solution or potential solution for automation in the manufacturing space. And so, Omkar, quickly, I'd just like to hear from you. Truly, realistically, what is being done to help us reach our automation goals?
Yeah, and I mean, automation, AI, that's the topic of the day, or other topic of the year. I see, Michael Halton from the audience. I see Mario Stanson. A bunch of people have asked the same question, right? What's happening in the automation space? And you guys, I mean, anyone who's remotely connected to the cell and gene therapy space would have heard of many of the companies today that are striving towards including more automation, more closed loop systems, even talking about robotics, right? And we're not talking about 10, 20 years in the future. I think this could be a reality within the next couple of years. And so the great thing about these platforms is one, the idea is to try to reduce human introduced error, because you would have a lot more robotics and automation involved. Uh, Secondly, and I think that's personally most important, is that this is a data hub. This is like, you have, with all the sensors and the probes that these products they claim to have, this is a data heaven. And think of, like, every time you run a batch, you can get detailed level of information, maybe even at a cellular level, to see how the cells are growing, what the incoming cells, the health of the incoming cells were, how well are they transduced, how is your media performing over a period of time. So I think there is a huge promise for using automation in cell and gene therapy manufacturing. And I will say, if we have the same conversation a year or 2 years from now, we would be talking we would talking more about how these solutions have addressed a lot of these batch to batch variability issues and challenges that we've been facing in the last 5 to 7 years. I don't know if Erin, if your video is frozen on my end, or Donna, I don't know if you have any thoughts on automation, if you've seen it or you had your hands on it.
I'm assuming Erin's frozen too. So I am a huge advocate of automation, and very early on. I'm also a proponent of breaking down unit operations. I'm not a big proponent of one shoe fits all. So understanding those units of operation and what best gives you the results you need from that. There are now automated approaches to pretty much every phase of manufacturing. Understanding what works for you, what gets your desired outcome, is hugely important. The sooner you integrate it, the better off you are. And I started with translational research before we ever got into GMP manufacturing. You can't do it early enough. The companies out there are more than willing to assist you along the way, because it means revenue for them. That's the cold black about that. So leverage that. It's expensive instrumentation usually that small companies with limited focused funding cannot necessarily invest a lot of money in, but you'll find that most of these companies are more than willing to get you started and help you focus to shift to automation very, very early on. I can't stress that enough. It saves a wealth of time and as you progress through progressive studies. You definitely would like to go to a BLA with an automated process, not have to do automation after BLAs. It's extremely costly then. So, and much larger demands of comparability studies. Again, changing from a manual process to automated, and even if you stage that automation, that having those internal process control banks from healthy donors, that you have an established expectations. This is what they do with my manual process. This is how they work. This is what happens when I add automation in. And 99% of the time, you get improved. You definitely get equal, or obviously you want to get equal to, but you usually get improved result outcomes by adding in automation. And you definitely acquire consistency in manufacturing. You don't have the variability of different hands using the different techniques slightly in a manual process. So, needless to say, I believe in automation.